and I would like to introduce Leo Smock Randall, who will be presenting this first section of first portion of session 4, which is contract obligation.
All right, thank you, Shandy. So session 4, we're going to be contract obligation, and that begins with completing an application. As Ronnie spoke to, there is new integration with CCG, but the other old-fashioned way that we still get a lot of applications in is just a hard paper copy or sometimes a fax or emailed copy. And so this lesson plan 18 is going to be going through how to use that paper copy application to go into desktop and create an application through there, through the desktop integration with Protrax, and then we'll be uploading the 1200 to document management, again through the integrated tools, and going all the way through making the application eligible and ranking in preparation of obligation. So to begin, we're going to log into desktop as our assigned user or self, and we're going to click search, the little magnifying glass top right, to look for our client. From here, we're going to use the Protrax link dropdown and to open Protrax. And we're doing this to choose our role. Again, when actual users are doing this, they have their own roles and assigned tasks, but in this instance, we're going to go in as Farm Bill Specialist and close Protrax so that we can begin the steps. And I'm not sure if we have an entity or an individual. That's my question.
We have an individual.
Individual, great. Okay, so for the individual, we can go straight to the desktop and search for our user. And we do need to choose the state and service center if it's not set in preferences, if you have more than one, to narrow down our search. All right, and then once we find our individual, we can select a link for the case file or an existing application or contract to open that customer up in the table of contents. So by clicking on one of their existing applications or contracts, the client is added into the table of contents. From there, we click on their name, and we click Add Application. This should then open up Protrax to the Add Application module. And for this, we're going to be selecting eQuip 2014 as the Farm Bill and choosing our service center, our servicing office. Once that's complete, we're going to click the location button, and a map will open where we drop a pin in our relative location of where the customer is. Once we dropped our pin, we can hit OK. Doing so will add the applicant button. We can click on that, and that will allow us to search skims so we can add a participant to the application. So here we navigate as usual. It's easier by common name, but you can use various search methods to find your customer. Once your customer is identified, you click on their name, and it will select them and add them to the Protrax application. As part of this, we already know some of these answers from their application, so we can click yes on the radio buttons for the decision maker, that they are an ag producer, that this is an obligation vendor, and that other eligibility is set. And also, if it's an entity, we'd have to make sure they have proof to sign. Next, we want to click on those checkboxes for modifications and payments. And we need to update the vendor code status. You can check next to the name to activate the vendor info button. That should open a new window, and hopefully we do have an active vendor in there that we can select. We do. We highlight them or click on them to make them yellow and hit OK to link that vendor with our application. And once that works, we can hit Save. This should then bring up full application page. It does open a window since the 1200 was not uploaded to Document Management, DMS. We have to click OK to let Protracs know that we understand we have to connect a 1200 in DMS to this application. At this point, we do want to write down our application number just so we can reference it later when we're back in our desktop section. And then from here, we can complete the remaining application details here, entering a legal description, a farm and tract number, clicking on the icon, entering the farm and tract. And then from some of our drop-downs, we can select whether the land's enrolled in other programs, the ownership, the land control, deed, or leased, the years of the lease if it's leased, organic production, the crop type, livestock, if any, the acreage treated, irrigation history, and then the application type and FA fund code. For this example, we're using FY18 on-farm energy, and our cost list should be CD training equip-CD training equip. And once we have all this information selected and entered, finally on that cost list there, we are then able to click Save on this application. Once all the features are saved, we can then close our Protracs window. So from here, we're going to be back right in the desktop where we were. We can select our task list in the top right. And then we're going to refresh and go to the Available to Me tab. And if we need to, we can filter out to try to find the Connect to 1200. It happens to be based on the preferences that that task is right on the top there. So we can click the Connect to 1200. And a 1200 is required to upload to Document Management System when there's a new application entered in Protracs if they didn't submit it themselves through Gateway. So the Connect to 1200 task allows users to upload the 1200 and link it to an existing application in Protracs. So once we've selected that Connect to 1200, our client is loaded, and the Document Management window should open up here as we see. So we can select Upload New Document, the little plus sign, and then we're going to navigate to wherever we saved that signed 1200 application. Once we hit open, we need to put a title in for the document name. And in this example, we're going to then check the participant signature type box to say that they have signed this 1200. And then we need to find the application that the 1200 will be associated with. That's why we had that. Write that down number. In this case, there's only one 2018 right there. Select the radio button next to it, and then we can click the orange upload box in the bottom of the module window. At this point, we want to verify that that 1200 did indeed upload. We can see based on the title there, and the date we put it in, that indeed that has uploaded to Document Management. So then we can close using the small x our Document Management module here. And then we're back into our task list where we just were, and we can refresh to verify that the Connect 1200 under Assigned to Me has been removed. And there are, yes, by clicking on it from available to me, it becomes self-assigned, and so that's why it was checked in under there, assigned to me, and we now see after refreshing that it has been removed. So now we're going to go further along in this process. In the table of contents, we can see over by our customer, and we're going to click on the actual application number that has been loaded, and we're going to go to select Manage Application under these options that drop down. This should then open a Protrax window, and so we want to click on our application to highlight it yellow and make it change to an eligible status. And then once we do that from the drop-down, we hit Save to make it eligible, and at which point, once it is updated, we can then close the Protrax window. Now that it is eligible, we can close this out, and we want to go to the task list where we were just, go to Available to Me, and we can click Refresh again, and we should see the Determine Application Eligibility task has been removed. Again, based on the preferences, that one was right on top. We can see after the refresh that's been done, and now the task shows that a rank application is the next step for our applicant here. And so we're going to select the rank application task for our client. And although we already had them, if it was someone else you've been working in, it would load that client to the table of contents on that application. And it should be, yes, opening up the Protrax window straight to the ranking tool. So in the ranking tool here, you may not be familiar, we can click through. I'll do this pretty quick just for this example. We click Next to move to our land uses. We'll choose pasture and move on from here. And it's the inefficient energy use. It's a very simple ranking pool on this one. We click Next. And we're going to select our practices online. And then we're going to choose pumping plant. We highlight it, we know it's selected there, we can click Next. And now we're connecting the resource concern to the practice checkbox there. And we click Next. And then we can begin answering our questions, the national, state, and local. So we just, for the example, are going to toggle a couple of these radio buttons to yes on the national, and we click Next. And then we do the same for the state, we click Next. And we do the same for our local questions, and Next. And then we get a ranking score, at which point we can then save our efforts. And this will pop up with a window that asks if we want to upload this to DMS, and yes, indeed, we do. So we can click Yes to auto-upload this ranking to DMS. And then it'll give us a window verifying that the step was successful. We can click OK. At this point, we're done in our ranking, so we can hit that Close button to close our ranking tool. This should bring us right back to where we were in desktop. So in the task list, we're going to navigate to the Assigned to Me, because again, when you click one that's available, it becomes a self-assigned. And now we can click on those actions, the little 3 dots on the far right. And this is one that needs to be manually completed, as we just mentioned earlier. So use those drop-downs. We can use the Complete Task option. And that'll complete this task and then remove it from the Assigned to Me. Just a little background on that. One of the reasons that's a manually complete is because sometimes rankings are reevaluated a few times based on inventory or changes in practices. So that's why that one is manual and not just the first time it's done. So that completes Lesson Plan 18. I'll turn it back over to Shandy.
Thank you, Leo. There are a couple questions in the Q&A pod that we'll address right now. Will Protrax still be available to use outside of CD, for example, to change eligibility and to add applications and other tasks? And the answer to that is yes. Protrax hasn't gone away. We haven't consumed it. We're giving you tasks that provide shortcuts to the appropriate place. Within Protrax, you could still do business as usual if that's what you choose to do, but these tasks will help get you to the right location in an orderly workflow fashion. See. If the 1200 was uploaded directly to DMS rather than doing it through CD, will the task manager recognize that there is a 1200 associated with the application in DMS and therefore the task changed to complete?
Yes.
Okay. If the client completes the application in CCG, will any of that information be defaulted into Protrax?
No.
Okay. There's one more question sitting up here that I can answer. Is there a difference between hitting the log off button in CD and just closing the internet browser instead? And I would answer yes, sort of, to that. So if you log out, you're officially going to log out. The system knows you've logged out. It's going to release the lock on any case, the last case file you had open. So, you know, as we're opening files here, they're putting a lock in the search results so nobody else can use it, much like Toolkit puts a lock on the file. So if you just close your browser window, it's not going to know you're actually done, right? So that lock isn't going to be removed right away. But if you log out, that lock should be removed right away when you log out. So yes, slight difference, but eventually the system will clean up and kick your lock off. So there's that too.